Bonjour. This is another episode with Bruno and Judith talking about how LARVOL Clin can help in covering cancer conferences. So, um, Judith and I are, well, I'm back from Barcelona, but Judith is still in Barcelona because that's where she's based. And we both were at the WCLC covering the most important lung specific cancer conference, which was wonderful. World Lung is a moving conference, right? So next year is going to be somewhere else and no longer in Barcelona. But in the meantime, this was a lot of fun. And what we have two agenda today with Judith. Number one, to demo, and some of you heard it before, but maybe not with the new data, demo how our platform can help in a very unique way, very differentiated way, track what happened in Barcelona and through the eyes of 6,000 oncologists. Right. So those of you who don't know our methodology, which is very unique, as I said, this is going to be explained to you with the actual results of that conference. The top disclosures analyzed not by me or Judith, but by, again, a panel of oncologists through social media listening. So we'll do that. And second, we will, in the last part of the call, the last 5 minutes, we will go through a poster that we presented in Barcelona, and it's a poster that Judith and her team built, and she's going to be, presenting briefly the work she did. It was super well received and attended, great engagement. We had a lot of great time there. So, but before, pass the baton to you, Judith, to talk about how Clin can help our audience, our listeners, for analyzing what happened at WCLC and then preparing for ESMO, since ESMO Berlin is starting and we will both be there. So drop us a message and hopefully we'll meet in Berlin.
Hi, thank you, Bruno, and thank you, everyone. So yes, we are in our post-conference coverage on World Lung. It's been like quite a series for this month covering the Congress. And today the idea would be to check into Clin, which have been the top disclosures following our methodology, as Bruno was pointing out there. So we track over 6,000 digital opinion leaders, which have been evaluated and verified, right? And we track their immediate reactions on X. So what they are posting, and not only that, but we link it to the specific trial they are commenting, and we add a layer of AI where we are able to tell whether the sentiment associated to that post would be positive, negative, and not only that, but practice changing or practice informing. So you can see in here what I'm showing is the top trials arranged by the number of posts, and even we are having the number of views and what we call the trial ratings. We can see that the top three, let's call it out, it's FLAURA2, Checkmate 816, and Harmony. So they are having most of the posts associated to them. And we are having in here in the FLAURA2 some practice changing comments. Let's take a look to those, what our digital opinion leaders are saying. So in this case, for osimertinib, with or without chemotherapy, we're seeing lots of practice changing related posts. So calling out the benefit, it's consistent across subgroups, calling out the OS, the median OS, the final results on OS. So calling it out as the results were very promising. Nonetheless, also we can see like a small set of posts that are negative related. If we take a closer look to that, in this case, in the sentiment analysis that we are doing with AI, we're even able to tell which is the specific negative sentiment behind it. So if it's in this case related to toxicity or lack of efficacy, which is the case for FLAURA2, but we could also be even able to tell if it's a matter of reimbursement or what's the reality or even design, right, behind the trial. So in this case, these are the sentiments around it. And we can see Checkmate, like it's having also lots of comments and even lots of views. And it's followed by the Harmony, which let's take a closer look as well. What people are saying. So again, for yes, this bispecific PD-1 and VEGF targeted, we see that ivonescimab has showing significant results. So manageable safety profile. So no DFS benefit in this case. Osimertinib is high. They has a ratio, so they are calling it out as potentially practice changing, as well as some negative comments that are related to that as well. We can see in this case, it's again toxicity and lack of efficacy, as we were seeing for the FLORA2.
So
Right?
harmony was, of course, the talk of the town and a bit of the controversial topic in Barcelona because it was so anticipated, and also because it essentially missed by a hair on the top of my head, pretty much by a hair. It missed the p-value, right?
That's statistically significant.
It missed the
Yes.
p-value for OS. Now, it was
Mm-hmm.
significant for PFS, but it missed the p-value for OS. Now, there was some very perhaps unique complexity of the trial. It took data from a previous study and so on and so forth. But the analysts, the Wall Street analysts and the data analysts have been arguing, and there was even some pretty, I would say, tense, I don't know, but opinionated back and forth between the company and some of the discussant of that data. So certainly a certain amount of controversy about this trial because it missed OS. So the dilemma is, how do you call that trial? Is that a positive trial because it nearly made OS? Is it a mixed trial or is it a negative trial? And arguably there is a follow-up. So it's final data. Well, it's mature data. The data is, as per the statistical plan, it's supposed to be mature data. But I think that one of the geographic cohort continues. So there is hope that it might cross that 0.05 magical line of p-value. So there are going to be more episodes and more drama later, perhaps, or more excitement later.
Yes, certainly. Let's see how it evolves. Indeed, we can see that as well as along with the top trials by post, we have also top influencers, so who have been commenting on those trials. So Dr. Amolakare still on the lead on the number of views, but it's followed by Hideichi Harunuchi, who has been very active posting on X, and Diego Diaz Garcia as well from Mexico. We can see also the top companies by the number of posts. So AstraZeneca, Summit Therapeutics, and Nuvalent, they are right there. Nuvalent coming from the ARVOS-1 results that they have also posted. And then an interesting analysis that we also do, it would be the number of influencers and their number of posts on X. And this would be sorted by the number of trials. So each trial, which influencer is commenting and which is the sentiment around those posts. So we can see how is the heat map looking. And we see this activity on very lots of comments on practice changing for Dr. Amorakade. We can see in here lots of another positive comments and some mixed. It's interesting to see this kind of heat map, how you can see the kind of map that you see around the posts on X.
So the Alchemist is a negative trial.
Yes,
right?
you can
I assume it did not meet efficacy, just based on I don't even know the data, but just based on the color
lack of
code.
efficacy. Yes, yes, definitely you can tell that. Yes.
Okay.
We had the chance indeed to meet with Antonio Calles.
Oh yes,
just open the post from him. Yes. We had a chance to talk with an oncologist, and indeed, if that's okay, we can move indeed to the poster.
I have a question. We call this podcast "Build in Public" because we're transparent when we have a question on uncertainty or even a bug or something. Oops, we set in public, and that helps us improve. So here's a bit of a question for you, and I realize you might not have the answer on the heat map. Um, we have rules about which color to show. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for example, one of the rules is that if it's got a practice changing, we show that.
Mm-hmm.
What if the same oncologists have commentary that are positive and commentary that are negative? Which one do we show? And so right now we only showing the we favor the positive ones
Mm-hmm.
because we have to show a color. We have to pick a color. So it's a little bit. I'm not saying we should change it, but I want to talk out loud about the rule we have. Where, for example,
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Amol had very positive, and also a critical point, a negative point,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
And of course, the positive overrides the negative, so they're hidden in the stack of
Mm-hmm.
comments. So that's just something to keep in mind, is that the red doesn't necessarily percolate to the top because of the color rules we use.
Yes. Thank you for bringing it out. Certainly. Yes, we can see this two practice changing overtook the negative comment on toxicity and lack of efficacy for the alchemist one.
Before we shift to your poster in a second,
Mm-hmm.
I want, and you might have a couple of closing points on this, but I want to mention to the audience that if you want to try our Clin platform for ESMO, or if you want to receive our report for WCLC as a complimentary sample of what we do, reach out to us or leave a comment here on social media. We're live right now, so we'll see your comments right away. And we always appreciate any commentary or questions. So please let us know, and we'd love to demo or send you a sample or send you more information about the Clin platform.
Sure.
Anything else on this? And then we'll go to your poster.
I would say that Worklang came out really interesting. There was lots of class. We started very early with only 30 around posts, and we have even put it into 10 times that. So like people has been very active, and it turned out a very interesting conference.
And one differentiator about the way we track these commentaries is that they're not just based on hashtag, and they're not any post. They are super curated. They are when someone has a meaningful commentary or mentions a trial. And sometimes the trial is mentioned by name. Sometimes it can be triangulated as clearly talking about that trial from the thread or from other element. And so with a mix of know-how and technology, we really align all of these commentaries, all of that color to the appropriate clinical trial. All right, now let's go to your great work.
The poster.
And
Yes.
you have another poster for ESMO, by the way.
Yes,
You're on a roll
certainly.
there.
Yes. Would love to see people stop by as well. Like it was really good. Lots of comments. Lots of people stopped by the poster. Really good feedback and exchange of ideas. So basically, what we did in here was to leverage Clin, so our platform, not from the perspective of the conference, but from all the data that we digitized. So over the 130,000 trials that we have in Clin, thanks to having all the outcomes data digitized, right? All the KM curves, hazard ratios, response rates, and even safety data that we put together in our structured database. We put our focus in this case in first-line extensive stage small cell lung cancer. And we wanted to evaluate. Our research question was our hypothesis was to set up this benchmark where we could compare IO plus chemo against chemo. So for that, we picked the Empower 133, the Caspian, and the Keynote 604. Certainly, like these trials were specifically selected, and not the other ones were included in here, since we are doing type of analysis that we need to make sure of which population we are selecting and which trials they fit into that population. So we need to be very careful on that. So we leverage all the the KM curves that were digitized and we have in Clin. And thanks to the X and Y coordinates plus the address data that we digitize, we are able to apply the Guerrero algorithm and extract pseudo-individual patient data, so pseudo-IPD, which enables us to recreate the KM curve, reconstruct it, indeed with an 80% level of accuracy, and by reconstructing the experimental curves on one side, plus the control curves on the other one, we can pull together the experimental against the controls. So we can set up and compare the how IOs plus chemos are performing against the chemo treatment. So we can apply a survival analysis afterwards. In this case, we can see the hazard ratio is 0.76, and it's been significant. So even the median OS was higher for IO plus chemo against chemo only. And the 1 year survival probabilities as well were for almost 50% compared to almost 40%. So we can see that statistically, the survival benefit for OS in IO plus chemo is higher than chemotherapy alone. And this helps us set up this kind of benchmark to compare this type of treatments, so IO in general plus chemo against chemo.
This is terrific. That's an example of the kind of data studio facility you build. I like to think about it as a Cochrane in a box, a Cochrane meta-analysis system in a box. We're trying to make it as easy as making a Google search. I exaggerate. It's always going to be hard than making a good Google search, but certainly hours instead of weeks is the goal in terms of preparing a very legitimate meta-analysis. So thank you. We're going to see you in Berlin
Certainly,
for
yes.
ESMO. And again, audience, if you have any questions or comments, leave us a message. Thank you and au revoir.